bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go! And a good morning, Birds fans. It's a summer Tuesday here on Birds 365. Thanks for streaming in with Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. John McMullen and Jody McDonald. No Eagle activities today. No Eagle roster moves. No Eagle trades. There's no new Eagle news. So this season is the season of ratings and rankings and lists and where do you
disrespect? Don't forget disrespect.
Oh, I'll get the disrespect. Fear not. We've got that again, which is borderline shocking to me. But again, we'll get to that. Two good writers, two good Eagle beat guys that I want to touch on stuff that they've done in the last 24, 48 hours. One of which, whose name is John McMullen, for Sports Illustrated with his tag team partner, Ed Krause, has started his Eagle top 25 player rundown. We had fun with this last year. I got to tip my hat to John McMullen. He said, sorry, I'm just not putting the Kobe Dean on the top 25. And I thought he was going to fight his way onto that. And he just never got off the bench other than special teams. So John was right to not have the Kobe Dean on the top 25. Correct me, I want to portray this accurately. You and Ed come up with your own independent top 25 lists, and then you give out points as per where they fall on the top 25, correct?
Correct. So we mesh it together. So we have two people, independent trying to come up with the best list possible, which is interesting you bring this up because I think it was 8 through – I'm not going to give it away, obviously, but 8 through 14, which is weird. We got the exact same order, 8 through 14.
That is a little weird, right? Yeah. Right, basically in the middle of it.
Yeah.
You happen to match up for about 8 or so spots in a row. That is a little strange, but you got to get there. We're starting at 25 and working our way down. And the first one on the combined SI list for top 25 is Kenny Gainwell, who you had on your top 25, but Ed Krause did not, correct?
Correct. I had him, I think, 23rd. Ed didn't have him at all. He kind of beat out Cam Jurgens for number 25. We both had Cam on the list. I had Cam at number 25. Ed had him a little bit higher, I think 24. So Kenny won out because I had him higher. So right there, but yeah, I mean, hey, Cam, I think is going to be on that list after the season. We do it before the season, we do it after the season. I think Cam eventually is going to be on that list, but I mean, he's all projection, Cam Jurgens. I think Kenny Gainwell played pretty well in the playoffs. When Miles Sanders got a little bit banged up, I thought he had a disappointing season, to be honest, for the majority of the regular season. I thought, and I thought the Eagles were disappointed, to be honest, as well. But I think he reignited some of that optimism by the stretch run that he had. And now he's going to have an opportunity. And I do think he's going to have an opportunity. I think a lot of people are defaulting to, well, it's going to be Swift and Penny. I don't know about that. I think Kenny's going to be given an opportunity. And hey, if he falters in the summer, he falters. And if those guys play well, those guys play well. But I do think it's going to be a real competition. And again, contracts, I say it all the time. Contracts don't tell you everything, but they tell you a lot. And the Eagles didn't go all in on Rashad Penny. And I didn't get a buzz with Rashad Penny in the spring. You know, Zach Berman was on the show yesterday, Jody, and he gave wise advice. You know, don't get caught up in what happens in the spring. So maybe I'm getting a little too caught up, but I was surprised at how little buzz there was over Rashad Penny in the spring. And it's a position you don't even look at until the pads come on, right? But there was buzz for DeAndre Swift and Kenny Gainwell. And even Trey Sermon, the head coach, kept bringing up.
The coach is a Trey Sermon fan. We know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's something to it. I do. And you know, all those 1 year guys that they signed to the, whether you want to call it the Walmart clearance aisle, look, if they perform in the summer, they're going to be a part of things. If they don't, you can easily move on from those guys. Simple as that.
Yeah, you're a bigger Kenny Gainwell fan than I am. And the way that you stated it, played well during the playoffs. He had one mega game during the playoffs, had a huge game against Giants, 112 yards. He's easily his best career game ever. He had 48 against the 49ers on 14 carries. That's 3.4 yards per carry. That's nothing special. And in the Super Bowl, with Miles being a non-factor after the bad decision / first play and hurting himself, 7 carries for 21 yards. Biggest game of the year. He did next to nothing in the Super Bowl. So I think the whole did well during the playoffs is slightly over. He had an unbelievable game. 112 yards on 12 carries. That's 10 yards a carry. That's off the charts. It's one game. And that's why I think they went out and got Swift and the oft injured back. And that's why I think people are not getting as nuts for him, because it's just a foregone conclusion that he's going to get hurt. We'll see if Kenny Gainwell gets the chance. And I'm almost surprised that you're the Kenny Gainwell fan, because one thing that you and I agree on is everyone says, oh, they get him the ball out of the backfield. They throw the ball to Kenny. That's where Kenny Gainwell's going to make his plays. He's going to make his plays in space. We just don't believe that that's going to be the default mechanism of this quarterback when he's got the ability to take off and make plays with his feet. I just do not believe it. Wasn't a big part of the Eagles' game plan last year, throwing it out of the backfield. I don't think it's going to be any bigger this year. So I'm not exactly sure where Kenny Gainwell is going to grab the spotlight.
Yeah, well, a couple things. And when part of it is, you're right. If you're just going to look at raw numbers, certainly the Eagles didn't run the football effectively in the Super Bowl. I mean, nobody's going to argue that. He had more juice. If you just watch the games, he had more juice than Miles. Now, part of that was, as I said, Miles was banged up. And you know, he went through the season. He went through the ringer. He had the 1,269 yards. He had all the touches through a 20-game season. So it kind of makes sense that it was worn down. So that's part of it. And Kenny just looked like he had more left in the tank, and he should, because he barely touched it. You know, I think 27% in the regular season, which is very similar to where he was as a rookie. And remember, this is number 25. All right. There's 22 starters, Jody. I'm saying is he's the 25th best player on this team. That's not, that's not top 5. That's not all pro
I get
level.
it.
That's one of their top backups. And that's what he's going to be. He's going to be one of their top backups. I've never thought Kenny Gainwell is going to be a lead back in this league, because I think he's got size issues. But I think he's already shown he's a good change of pace guy. And Nick Sirianni likes the running back by committee. Unless Dalvin Cook shows up, and they're going to use a running back by committee. And if that's the case, I think he's going to be a part of it. And I do think he's got tremendous receiving ability. And you know how I feel about that. And we're on the same page. It's not as important here as it would be with the Chargers, for instance.
Correct.
Where I think he'd be catching 60, 65 balls. I don't think it's as important here. But I do think he's an underrated runner. In fact, one of the shocking things to me over his first 2 seasons is how much they use him inside the 20, because whether he can hide and he's better between the tackles than people give him credit for. Now, I don't think he can run it 20 times, 25 times. But again, we're talking 25th. So we're talking top level backup. And I think he's one of their best backups. I really do.
Yeah, because of the 1 subtraction and 2 additions that they made, if Rashad Penny stays healthy, I think Gainwell's going to get the 3rd most carries. Even if you want to go to touches, you want to add in the passes out of the backfield, as little as they may be per game. I think he's going to get the ball the 3rd most on this field. I'll have him still, despite the verbal love that the coach gives Trey Sermon, I'd still have him, Kenny Gainwell, ranked ahead of Trey Sermon, but the coach may just shock us all and prove that he meant what he said. I think he's just trying to lift the guy's spirits up. You're a bigger Kenny Gainwell fan than I am, but that's okay. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. Our friends over at Pro Football Focus are doing lists galore. This started last week into this week, and in both individual positions, overall offense, overall defense, overall rankings for teams, individual positional rankings. Man, they got some Eagle love going on in Pro Football Focus. Number 1 offensive line in football, and it's not close, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 1 defensive line in all of football. This one was, at least they write it a little closer, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 1 team roster strength, top to bottom, 1 through 90, I guess now, but it's going to get cut down to 1 through 53. The Philadelphia Eagles with the San Francisco 49ers, number 2. We talk about how the AFC is better than the NFC. I quickly tell you the top 10, 7 of the 10 are AFC teams, which means only 3 are NFC. But the top 2 are the Eagles and the 49ers. As I told you yesterday, I think the drop-off between the 49ers to the Cowboys is bigger than the drop-off between the Eagles and the 49ers. So, and wide receivers, Cincinnati Bengals 1, the receivers, because they included the tight ends. Cincinnati Bengals 1, Philadelphia Eagles number 2. So they got them the 2nd best receiver group. Best offensive line, best defensive line, best overall roster, 2nd best wide receiver. Where do you think Pro Football Focus has the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles ranked?
4-ish, 5-ish.
Keep going up.
2?
No, up. Up as in away from
I thought you
1.
meant up on that.
Yeah,
wow.
sorry. Yeah,
7?
7. Now,
So
we all got
Chris
a little
Sims.
crazy that Chris Sims
Sims
went with him at number 7. But Pro Football Focus also had Jalen Hurts ranked 7th. The difference being Sims had Trevor Lawrence at 6 and Jalen at 7. Pro Football Focus put Rodgers back into the top 5. Sims had Rodgers falling down a little bit off the season that he had last year.
I'm a Rodgers guy too, so But hey,
would you have Rodgers ahead of Hurts?
Boy, that's a tough question. That's like a Soapy's choice for me. Look, if Rodgers is worse, it's because the age has started to creep in.
Of course.
Rodgers that's not an insult. I hope Eagles fans understand this is not an insult. Aaron Rodgers I'm going to have difficulty putting anybody above him when he's playing at a high level. And that's why you as a Jets man should be so excited. Now, maybe he is done. Maybe he is cooked. Maybe he is on the downside. I mean, he is going to be 40, I think, or is 40.
I think he turns 39 in season.
39. So, I mean, it happens to everybody. There's going to be a slight descent, but boy, he's so smart. He's so good. He makes just tremendous decisions, accuracy, arm strength. I haven't seen a huge drop off, so I would probably put him ahead. Yes.
Right. And so did Pro Football Focus. I have him number 3. I think the only 2 quarterbacks off what he did last year that you can rate above him are Mahomes and Burrow.
Well, off last year, yeah, no question. He had the second best season. So in theory, you could rate him above Burrow. Now I'm trying to mesh the two together and trying to do projection and put it together. If you force me, look, it's not wrong. I would put Joe ahead of him, but he was better than Joe last year. I'd put Aaron. He was clearly better than Aaron last year, but the consistency you have to also factor in. You know, Aaron Rodgers has done it for a long time, so you kind of, if you know if he has 2 seasons like that, you know, you got to add in the supporting cast. That's what makes this stuff difficult. It's what makes this thing fun. And the Eagles do have. The Eagles are the most. I said it last year on the show so many times. It became very clear about midway through the season. Eagles were the deepest, most well-rounded team in football. And that's why you see they're number 1 here. They're number 1 there. Bucky Brooks was the one who put their defensive line, which I think was a little much. Number 1 in the entire league for any position group. You know, the wide receivers, the quarterback, the tight end, all over the place. They're top tier. You rarely see this, especially in this era. So that factors into it as well. But he's a top 5 quarterback. I think 7's a little bit low.
Yeah, I was surprised, and people did get their nose out of joint, guilty as charged, that he had Chris Sims had him down at 7, and the Pro Football Focus guys put him at the exact same spot, which I absolutely believe is low. And as far as the surrounding cast, it's chicken and egg time. Was Jalen's advanced game the reason why the Eagles at certain positions look as good as they do, or did those guys all step up and drag Jalen with them? I am not going to just default to, oh, Jalen's got a ton of talent around him. Well, part of that talent stepped up because Jalen stepped up, and all of a sudden they got better. So what kind of an effect does his advanced game have on their games?
Yeah,
I think that's a very fair question.
I don't think it's either or. I think it's both. I think, you know, Miles Sanders is a perfect example of that. And I talk about running backs all the time. I said it up to the draft. I said the Eagles don't need a top tier running back because, you know, Jalen Hurts makes things so much easier for the running backs. That's a perfect example of him elevating people. Now, we know before or after, we know Lane Johnson's great. We know Jason Kelsey's great. We know what the defensive line has been. There are certain guys, we know what Slay has been. What Bradbury's been, the defense as a whole. I mean, you know, it helps them when your offense is scoring points. So that factors into it. We know AJ Brown can play. We know Devontae Smith can play, but he also, you know, makes them a little bit better. So I don't think it's either or. I think it's a combination.
Right.
But hey, it's easier to play when you have a lot of talent, and he's got a lot of talent. It's fair to say that as well. It would be disingenuous to say he doesn't. So I think it's both.
As long as we're acknowledging both, it's not Jalen riding on anybody's coattails. I'm not going to say that Jalen lifts all these mediocre players at star status. No, they got star level players. It's a little bit of both. And that's why I'm not going to count that as a negative against Jalen because he's got talent around him. Oh, by the way, other guys have talent around, have some very talented players around him too at the quarterback position in the NFL who are ahead of him on the list. All right, Johnny Mac, chatting you up here on Birds 365, a summer Tuesday. Coming up next, we're going to get one of our regular guests from CBS Sports. And oh, by the way, guy on CBS Sports put a quarterback list out He had Jalen Hurts higher than number 7. We'll probably make him get on the record and tell us where he'd rank Jalen Hurts. We've got Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports jumping in next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama go up, mama!
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We got John McMullen and Jody McDonald, your Mac guys here on Birds 365. We're lucky enough to get Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, CBSSports.com, to jump in with us. Kerr, I'm going to ask you one question that has absolutely nothing to do with football first. And let me readily admit, my area of expertise is now 40 plus years old. The last time I bowled on a regular basis, grade school. Every once in a while in high school, but I'm going back to grade school. When is the best time of year to bowl? Oh, is he freezing up on us? I asked him such
he's frozen.
Out of left field.
He looked so real.
He does.
It's frozen.
He looked like he was contemplating my question, giving it great thought before he answered it.
I was
you're unfrozen now, Kerr.
Go.
When is the best time of year to bowl?
The best time of year, it's the winter. It's definitely not the summer because
Why?
I haven't had a good summer bowling in about 7 years.
You're tying it all to yourself. I'm going to be a more open-minded individual. I say summer for one very important reason, and you'll explain this, I hope. You walk into a bowling alley, and it is cold. It is just naturally cold. If you're wearing a short-sleeve shirt, you walk into the bowling alley, and you go like this. I'm guessing they need to do that to keep the lane, the type of roll that they want on it. I just love coming out of the nice hot heat outside and coming into a overly air-conditioned bowling alley. Am I just making this? I'm telling you, it's 40 years ago, so I might just be dreaming this crap. But tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not. So the only thing is when you bowl, the approach has to be good because if you're wearing bowling shoes and you stick, forget it. You ain't
You're
scoring.
screwed.
You ain't doing anything. So yeah, they have to keep it insanely cold. I actually wear long pants when I bowl in the summer, and in the winter, obviously you're dressing warm, but it feels nice when you go in the winter. But in the summer, I don't know. I prefer the heat, but that's just me.
I like the cool.
I got a ball to Ernie McCracken here. That's who I take all my bowling advice from, and maybe Nick Biero and Jeff Kerr. So
hey,
I got a
Nick's got a PBA Tour card here.
Yeah,
you got to remember that.
Yeah. So I don't know much except Ernie McCracken.
Right, but
which is
what did Ern prefer? Since you're going to quote Ernie McCracken, was he a winter guy or a summer guy, McMullen?
That was Bill Murray in the movies. So
I know who Ernie McCracken is. Yes,
yeah.
Maybe the worst.
I don't think they addressed it, but they did have the guy who had his own track. I forget that character's name. He made it very cold for a reason. We can't talk about that on a family show. If you remember the movie, he made it very cold for a reason. So. And it wasn't bowling related. I shall say that.
Understood.
Yeah. I'll just say this as a bowler, someone who needs to have really good eyesight, and I normally do. I hate the summer bowling. One, because of allergy. It is allergy season for me. And two, I just don't bowl well in the summer because I'm working on my game for the fall. So
okay, all right,
all right.
I apologize for getting us off course. Jeff Kerr. Eagle quarterback rankings heading into the 2023 season off what they did and what you're projecting them to do this year. Give us your top 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks, the Jeff Kerr ranking of quarterbacks going into the NFL season 2023.
Well, Mahomes is 1. I'd probably go Burrow 2. This is where it gets tough. I probably would go Hurts 3 based off last year. Probably go Josh Allen 4. Yeah, there's always going to be someone I'm missing here. You're putting me on spur of the moment.
Yeah, I am. I'm putting you on the spot here, buddy.
Yeah,
I got pressurized summer
so
bowling.
Most people will throw out, where are you going to have Rodgers? Where are you going to have Herbert?
Exactly.
Where are you going to have Lamar?
Yeah, I think
are the more difficult ones.
I think on talent alone, I actually would put Rodgers 5. I'd probably put Herbert 6. So that's a good one. That gets really. I think Trevor Lawrence would be 7 right now.
Ahead of Lamar.
Trevor Lawrence getting a lot of love. I love the guy. Jody knows. Tremendous prospect. But I think people are skipping steps with Trevor Lawrence a little bit.
I think they are too.
He went mano a mano with Herbert in the playoffs last year, and one
guy
walked up a 24-point lead.
He had a great run. I think Doug is doing a wonderful job. I think the biggest idiot in the world, Press Taylor's doing a wonderful job, who all of a sudden got smart again. And I'm being facetious. I hope people realize I think the Eagles did him a disservice, but I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's going to be even better, but I think there's still some development is all I'm trying to say.
Last year was pretty much like a rookie year for Trevor Lawrence because of the Urban Meyer fiasco.
Yeah, he probably got set back by Urban Meyer. That probably hurts.
But back to your Lamar thing. I mean, I've seen some people have him in top 5. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, he's a former MVP. He's still a really good quarterback. It's just he's hurt a lot. But the numbers don't. I don't like when people say wins aren't a quarterback stat because in theory they kind of are. The Ravens are 45-16 when he plays. That when he starts, they're 45-16.
Yeah, there's certain guys like I agree for the most part in the other direction that wins are not a quarterback stat, except when they are. If you have consistent success, like Lane Johnson at right tackle. Well, in theory, wins losses shouldn't be a right tackle stat, but they are for the Eagles because when he's out there, they stink and win. And when he's not, they tend to have problems. So I think it's on a case-by-case basis. The guy who took a hit for me, not from a talent perspective, he's probably number 2 from a talent perspective. But the guy who took a hit from me last year was Josh Allen. Too many mistakes, too reckless. I've knocked him down a little bit in the offseason. He's a guy now he can fix it. I mean, he's incredibly gifted. But he took a little bit. So if I'm going to disrespect anybody in that top tier group, it's probably going to be Josh Allen.
And I think it's fair because of the turnovers. You can't get on Dak Prescott for turnovers and not mention Josh Allen, who had, was tied with Prescott, I think, for the most interceptions in football. My defense of Josh Allen, at least from the turnovers, is the Bills had a terrible offensive line. People don't want to admit they had a terrible offensive line last year, but they did. And I don't think their running game was that great. I thought James Cook was their best running back last year, and now he's going to be the feature back. I was not a fan of Devin Singletary at all. I actually like the fit in Houston a lot more than I did in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, and Trevor, I think there is that drop off after Trevor to me. So if we all agree that Mahomes, should be one, obviously, but then you have Burrow, Josh Allen, the Herberts, the Rodgers, Lamar's, Jalen Hurts. So then you have a drop off to Trevor Lawrence, and then you have another drop off to whomever you think might be the next one. Pretty significant drop off. So I think Trevor belongs up there. I just don't think he's in that top 6-7 group.
Yeah.
Where do we go like Dak Prescott here? I still say he's top 10.
Well, I think he's in the conversation to be 9 or 10. If you have 8 really good quarterbacks, I think if you put him at 9, I wouldn't argue with you. But I think he's a little bit below.
But I think it's getting hard for a certain fan base to admit that Dak Prescott will probably never be a top 5 quarterback.
Who did PFF have after those guys? So they had, I'm trying to look it up. So they had Mahomes 1, Josh Allen 2. I think that's too high. Joe Burrow 3. I put him at 2. Herbert at 4. I love Herbert. I'm in the bag for Herbert, so I have no problem with that.
He was coached by the worst offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I don't like the situation. Hopefully Kellen Moore helps him out. Aaron Rodgers, Jody knows. That guy's unbelievable. Lamar, Jalen, Trevor Lawrence. Then I have Cousins 9 and Prescott 10. So that's where you're at in that 9-10 range. I have no problem with that. I'd probably put Prescott ahead of Cousins, but that's about right, I think.
I don't think Daniel Jones should be ranked higher than Dak Prescott, which seemed to be a thing.
No, that's absurd.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts ran for more touchdowns last year than Daniel Jones threw. Think about that.
You know who I might put in that conversation, who I think is underrated because of the start of his career and maybe the end in Los Angeles, Jared Goff. I'd put him in that conversation.
I think Goff deserves at least a top 10 consideration. He's definitely has not been. He's been good in Detroit. I'll say it. He's been good.
Yeah,
he's got.
I don't know. People have problems saying that. I don't know why. He's solid. He's not great, but he's a good quarterback.
I'll tell you the guy who I think is being disrespected on a lot of these lists, and I get it because he was hurt last year, but being hurt didn't seem to diminish Lamar Jackson, but it did Matthew Stafford. We're only 1 year removed from him being the champion of the National Football League.
Well, you know me as well. I've always talked up Matthew. Some of that is age as well with me. But you're right. If he's healthy.
Didn't get you from keeping Rodgers in the top 5, did it, John?
No, but Rodgers is different. I mean, I've always liked Matthew Stafford. But Rodgers,
what do Rodgers and Matthews have in common? One Super Bowl championship apiece.
But one's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And Matthew Stafford's a very good quarterback that people have underrated for many years. But one's,
including
are you going to dismiss
into this year, in my opinion?
Are you going to dismiss Dan Marino because he's got 0? And I'm not going to say, Matthew Stafford or even most guys who won Super Bowls aren't in the Marino category. Most guys who won Super Bowls aren't in the Rodgers category. Those guys are top 10 all time.
Here's my point. And you guys were just throwing out Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. Yeah, that's who I'm comparing the one championship that Matthew Stafford has to those guys who have none. Dan Marino. Yeah, he takes it to another level. You wouldn't compare Goff or Cousins or Dak Prescott to Marino, would you? No.
No.
Not. So.
And I wouldn't compare him to Rodgers, which is why I don't. That's what I was trying to say. I don't compare him to Rodgers. Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. Those guys aren't in the conversation with him.
He's got three MVPs. Matthew Stafford's only made one Pro Bowl, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. He didn't make more as an alternate.
According to Pro Football Reference, he's only made one, and it was one of his worst statistical seasons. Because I was doing the duos list for CBS, like who'd be my best duo on each team, and I went Stafford and Kupp. And I was looking up Stafford's numbers from last year. I'm like, they're the worst since his Pro Bowl year. And then I look, that's his only Pro Bowl. I don't know how that happened.
I can't believe that because guys get. There are years where the 8th best quarterback in the league makes the Pro Bowl because guys just go, yeah, no thanks, yeah, no thanks, yeah, no.
Tyler Huntley made the Pro Bowl last year. He only had 4 touchdowns.
It's ridiculous. Tyler Huntley's made as many Pro Bowls as Matthew Stafford, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, pretty much. Jalen Hurts has made as many Pro Bowls as Matthew Stafford.
You know, I finally. By the way, this is arcane, but people might find it interesting because I've been meaning to ask this for years because Pro Bowl selections are a big deal when it comes to contracts. And, you know, a lot of times incentives are based on Pro Bowl bursts. And I was always like, well, what about alternates? What about guys that, as Jody's saying, and you're Tyler Huntley? No, they don't count. They don't count. You have to be on the original list for incentives. So it is a little bit more meaningful to be on that original list. If you're an alternate, you're an alternate.
I think that's why we make such a big deal about the All Pros now, because of all the alternates in the Pro. Like going to the Pro Bowl used to be a really big deal. Now it's, okay, did you make the All Pro team?
Well, it's always been, did you make the All Pro team? Especially with we have so many Hall of Fame. We're lucky enough to have so many Hall of Fame selectors on this show since we've done it, Jody. We had Jason Cole on yesterday. Those guys have always, when they debate Hall of Famers, they don't look at Pro Bowls. They're looking at all pro selections because, you know, that means you're either the best 2 or 3 at your position on a particular year. And if you do that consistently, that means you're a pretty good player. So,
I mean, look at Jason Kelsey, for example. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's got 5 All-Pro selections.
Oh, yeah.
5 first-team All-Pros.
Yeah.
I think there's only like 4 or 5 centers that have more than him, and they're all Hall of Famers. It's, you know, Dermontti Dotson, you know, Mike Webster, those guys.
All right, Jeff Kerr, I didn't bring this up with Johnny Mack. We got off on a ranking and rating tangent, but good friend of all of ours, Ruben Frank, on his observations column, which I think hit yesterday at some point, pointed out where the Eagles can be improved this year. I see what he's saying, but I'm not sure that I agree with him. Eagles last year against the run. We know what their ranking was, and ranking is based on how many yards you give up per game. A more accurate way of rating a team against the run is probably yards per carry, because last year the Eagles got a whole bunch of halftime leads. They were this unbelievable second quarter team that dominated a lot of their opponents in the second quarter. So teams come out trailing at half, they run it less. So their total yards are going to be less, but their average per carry can be a better judgment of it. At 4.6 yards per carry, that was the 5th worst in the National Football League. Eagles against the run, 5th worst if you go by yards per carry. And Ruben's theory is the Eagles are going to be better against the run because they don't have Javon Hargrave anymore, who on Pro Football Focus rating against the run wasn't good at all. Now, he's great at tracking down the quarterback, getting sacks. A D tackle that gets double-digit sacks is huge. And, oh, by the way, the 49ers liked him enough to give him a massive contract. Will the Eagles be better against the run just because Javon Hargrave isn't in their defensive tackle mix?
I think the Eagles will be better against the run because Jordan Davis is going to be in there more than Javon Hargrave not being there. Because I remember when they signed Javon Hargrave, he was always an underrated pass rusher, but that's not what he was really asked to do in Pittsburgh. He was asked to play the nose more. So he was pretty solid against the run. But last year they were fine against that until Jordan Davis had the foot injury. And then that led to the calamity in Houston and the loss against Washington, and Howie Roseman reacted and said, okay, Linval Joseph, the Dabakatsu, come on down. And it seemed to patch things up. And, it was almost like a leaky faucet. You just got the quick seal. That was it. Now you got a new pipe. So you got Jordan Davis back. I think that's going to significantly help. I think Milton Williams is a lot better against the run than people give him credit for. So I think that's
Milton was here all 17 games last year, right?
Yeah, but how much was he? John, you would probably notice a lot better than me. Like just from watching the games, being at the games, I didn't take that much notice in Milton Williams the last 5-6 weeks of the season.
No, I thought Milton played well, especially in the second half, for what they're asking him to do. See, here's my problem with this discussion. They don't care, right? It's all light boxes. Like if they were trying to stop the run, I would put more emphasis into it. Now, if you want to argue with the theory, the scheme, the philosophy, I'm with you. I'm 100%. I get people want to argue that. To expect this team, the way they play, to stop the run like they're, Pat Williams and Kevin Williams in their prime, and number one rush defense. Who was the number one rush defense? Tampa Bay, Budda Baker.
Yeah.
Three straight years. Minnesota, 3 straight years with the Williams wall. To expect them to stop the run like that, the way they play, is ludicrous. So
and that's not really a thing anymore either, like being the number one rush defense.
No. So, but if you want to criticize the philosophy, then I'll listen and I'll say, yeah, all right. Maybe they should pay more attention to stopping the run. But until they change the philosophy to expect guys. Now, where Rube's right, and I've said this for years, Javon Hargrave is not a good run defender. He is not. He's a great interior pass rusher, but he is not good against the run. Where it really showed up is year one under Nick Sirianni, where they didn't have that player. They didn't have that nose tackle, that shade technique, even though Javon played it, and he played it in Pittsburgh, not good at it. Cam Hayward was better.
Cam Hayward's the underrated stud of the Pittsburgh defense.
But he's not good at it. He's a good pass rusher. But their whole thing is math, right? +1, +1, +1 on offense. The +1 on defense is get another guy in coverage. Well, when you get another guy in coverage, you're always playing these light boxes and you're going to give up these runs. And, that's the philosophy. I don't love the philosophy. Jody can tell you that. I don't love it. I prefer to pay a little bit more attention to the run. One of my pet peeves is 4-3 versus 3-4. The Eagles never played a third linebacker. Never. Ever. Nakobe Dean was the third linebacker. He had 34 snaps as a rookie. And all of those were in blowouts.
Right.
It's not like they said
it wasn't like they added a third linebacker.
No.
He went in for somebody.
Yeah. So never, ever did they play a third linebacker. Now, most teams don't for significant snaps, but you might have 15%, 20% here and there in the modern game. A lot of people play loaded boxes, Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinators, Brian Flores, that Eagles fans would probably like a little bit more, that are a little bit more aggressive. They put more emphasis into it. The Eagles don't, and they're not going to put emphasis in it under Sean Desai. People can blame John. It's not going to change.
And Eagles fans probably know firsthand. I love Wink Martindale as a coordinator, but that philosophy, like you said, loading the box, that doesn't work well against a multifaceted offense like the Eagles. That's why the Eagles blew out the Giants pretty much every time they played them last year.
Yeah, so that's kind of the conversation. Well, they think this is the way to play modern football. They're probably right. I don't necessarily like it all the time, but I will acknowledge they're probably right. And you're going to give up some runs if you play this way.
Right. And
you just
my
are.
take is, and I get it, the Eagles were 14-3. They blew out their 2 playoff opponents in the NFC. You can't.
Uh-oh. I got a
Maybe
frozen
there's
Jody.
Yeah,
you
I
have a
think-
frozen Jody?
I have
All
a
right.
frozen Jody too.
I never know. That's the problem with streaming. I never know who's frozen, who's not. So
Especially
we'll
here
continue
at my crib at 8 a.m., it's always up in the air. Like every time I sign on, I'm like, oh God, am I going to connect today? Am I going to connect? Well, I connected for a little bit, then I froze.
All right. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Jody can make it back, and we'll keep the conversation going as we wait for Jody Mack. But I do want to bring up, because you did do your it is ranking season, Jeff, and you did your best duos for each team. And for the Eagles, you went, and I can't argue with you. You want Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. Did you have any debate going back and forth with AJ and Devontae? Because I think that
I did. I had a lot of debates on this because I do like they have to be on both sides, or both players have to be on the same side of the ball. So I'm like, do I go Jalen AJ? Do I go AJ Devontae? Do I go Slay Bradbury? Do I go Sweat Reddick? But I looked at my list last year and I went Kelce Johnson. I said, you know what? None of them had a drop ball. So why don't we just go with the linchpin of the offense? Those two, the two guys on this team are probably going to be Hall of Famers.
Yeah. I don't know. We shifted Jody, if you didn't hear, to Jeff's best duos on every NFL team heading into 2023. For the Eagles, Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. Here's why I would go. I'd go AJ Devontae. Everything's.
I can't argue with you on this, by the way.
But here's why. I mean, to me, and Ed Kratz and I are doing our top 25 Eagles, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but everybody's going to be really high on the list of these four particular players. My definition of best duo would be complementing each other. The offensive line always complements each other. But if it were center guard or guard tackle, I would have, a more, those guys are spaced out, Kelce and Johnson. Whereas AJ and Devontae are complementing each other on basically every play. That's the only reason I would default to AJ Devontae as the best duo on the Eagles. But was there any other team with so many candidates for this?
Not really. Like even a team like the Chiefs, it's Mahomes Kelce. That's just the obvious.
Easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're the Super Bowl champ. Like Bills, Allen Diggs, Bengals, Burrow, Chase. Like the Eagles, it just, when people say the Eagles have a talented roster, they have a talented roster. I mean, we're not, giving you fool's gold here. Like I said, there were like 5 or 6 duos I could have picked out of the Eagles, and I don't think any Eagles fan would go, no, you're wrong. Or, why'd you go this one when you could have went this one? That's just how loaded they are. I mean, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith was serious consideration for me because they both are top 10 receivers. Of the wide receiver duos last year, they were second in the NFL in receiving yards behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And they're the first pair of Eagles receivers to get 1,000 yards in a season. It's just incredible what they're able to do and how young they are. And I actually wrote about this yesterday, my standouts for minicamp, and I put Devonta Smith in there. I said, I thought Devonta Smith had a great minicamp for the one little bit I saw him. I'm like, I don't care what the situation is. I think Devonta Smith's going to have a monster year for this football team.
I like your both of you guys look at the duos. I'd put Sweat and Hassan Reddick in there too, because as John was talking about complementing each other on each side of the defensive end. I'd probably have them 3, and it probably Slay and Matt Patricia as number 4. See how that plays out this year.
How many Darius Slay, Matt Patricia questions do you think he's going to get this year?
Darius, well, I called him Darius. You can tell it's the off season. I'm a lot. They didn't give him to us in the off season, which is weird because Slay's one of the first guys to talk every week, and they were clearly keeping him away from us. I don't know why. He gets asked the questions once, and that's it, basically.
Yeah,
and he handled it well in Detroit when he was at Calvin Johnson's golf tournament. somebody asked him out there, and he said, "Yeah,
yeah, he was open about it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And he's a pro, and he'll just say, it's a business. We're working for the same goal. Got to be friends to work together. All that kind of good stuff.
Very professional
but
answer
we know Darius has got. All right, sorry if I call him Darius Flake. Has a little thin skin. When people were trying to blame him for that 3rd and 30, he came out and defended himself immediately. So if anybody questions, he's going to defend himself.
And I wasn't there, so I can't answer this. It's just my opinion. Is that Matt Patricia was probably trying to motivate him and say, you're not in that category yet. And probably took it the wrong way. I mean, that it happens all the time. Jim Schwartz was trying to give DK Metcalf the biggest compliment in the world, comparing him to Calvin Johnson.
And Metcalf took it personally.
Yeah, and he took it personally. He thought he said, because he had no idea basically who Calvin Johnson was. And that's on DK Metcalf, not freaking Jim Schwartz trying to compliment him. You never know how people are going to take these things. Not everybody is a historian of the game. It's just a business of their doing, and they're very good at it.
Tyreek Hill just named his top 5 running backs of all time and didn't have Jim Brown on the list.
Who had top 5 and Jim Brown's not on the list?
Tyreek Hill did. He didn't even mention Jim Brown, but which is odd because I was going to say, well, maybe he doesn't know that far in history. But guess who's on there? Gale Sayers.
Brown was before him, but not that much. Shame on Tyreek Hill if that's the case. All right, Kerr, before we let you go, I got to go here with you because you and I are on the same page here. You're a fan of Hard Knocks. I'm a fan of Hard Knocks. It's now June 20th.
They have my proposal, Jody.
They don't know who's going to be the Hard Knocks team. Come on. You're tight with Jeffrey. You can get Lori on the phone. Tell him, volunteer. Philadelphia Eagles, the 2023 preseason Hard Knocks team. I need this, Jeff Kerr. I want this to happen. Let's talk it into existence. Can you get Jeff Lurie on the phone and talk him into it?
No. I wouldn't want this team anywhere near Hard Knocks. I said, HBO listened to my proposal. Bring the Detroit Lions back. They just said no.
The Lions said no. I did read that over the weekend. They actually
even the Lions don't want to do it. That. Nobody wants to do that.
And you know what? I love Hard Knocks, but it is outdated. Like I think the in-season one is better now.
It's still good. It should suck, but it doesn't. That tells you how good it is. By all rights, it means it should suck because it's been on so long and it's the same thing every year. It just changed the name to protect the innocent, but I still love it every single year.
Well, I think the production values are off the charts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they do a tremendous job with the production. I remember when they did that drone shot. I think that was Hard Knocks of the Cowboys facility.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I mean, that stuff is off the charts. But these teams are so secretive. They have, final say. They can cut stuff out. It's just not, unless you're going to make it real, unless you're going to make it a documentary, unless you're going to make people and say the NFL says, you know what, this is important to us. This is an important brand. Sorry, it's your turn. You have these rules. You pick a team. It's your turn. You got to let these guys have open access until they get to that point. And they're not going to get to that point. I don't care about the show. So, I mean, you're not seeing an unfiltered look into these teams. It's very guarded. They can say,
well,
hey,
if it's
take
that guarded, the Eagles should be willing to sign on. You're going to have control. Johnny Mack is not, you're telling me it's not really saying anything. Why can't it be the Eagles?
Because they don't want it. They don't want to do it, Jody. Now, if you want to say it's stupid, I'll agree with you that the Eagles are so secretive. I say it all the time. I think it's dumb, but they don't want to do it.
I mean, John, you and I see that like during practices. It's
it's
strict. Put your phones away. Like put them down.
Oh yeah.
You can't
Oh, we're
video
doing install. Put your phones away.
Yeah, come on. I've heard it a couple of
Yeah.
Kerr, did you not hear me? No, you didn't come my way. So
Yeah.
Hey, they had a hell of a season last year. They were tied with 10 seconds to go in the Super Bowl. I'd rather celebrate it than hide it if I were the Eagles. But that's just me. I think things a little differently.
Go to the Chiefs because they're one of the few that still do an open training camp practice. I mean, fans film their training camp practices all day long, and they've asked Andy Reid why I don't go because
Well,
I like it.
You bring that up. This drives me insane. Now the training camp practices have to be open by NFL rule, so we get to watch the entire training camp practice. The bands that are there, remember, there are a certain number of bands allowed in the Eagles practices. It's usually, special days. It's usually, season ticket holders, things like that. I'm not talking about the Lincoln Financial Field practice. I'm talking about the NovaCare practices.
Right. By invitation.
Yeah. And we, the reporters, we get the film for about the first 15 minutes. And then it's, as you know, Jeff, it's put the phones away. Same thing with the fans. They tell them to put them away, but there's too many people. There's always people filming, and there's always people like the famous Jalen Rager catch. We didn't film that. We were not allowed to film that.
I think a fan first got it.
Yeah, fan did. Because you can't police everybody. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb because you do have fans. And nobody's getting it. You think the Dallas Cowboys are sifting through? Oh, look at this band video. Come on, but this is the way the league is.
Where a fan videotapes just the whole practice. Do you really think teams are just going on that Twitter account? No.
It drives me nuts.
And honestly, I think it takes away the experience from the fans too, because that's what most people do now. They're on their phones. It's society now. There's nothing wrong with that.
Last time I'm going down this road today. Oh, I'll go down it again. Somebody's got to do Hard Knocks. So it might as well be the Eagles. I know, John, when you guys say, the Eagles don't want to do it. I get it. They don't want to do it. I'm trying to sway them. I'm trying to talk them into it. I'm trying to make some sense that it would be more of an upside than a downside because they can control it after the fact.
All you're going to get, if the Eagles are on Hard Knocks, all you're going to get is the standard is the standard and rent is due every day.
Well,
that's all you're getting.
Pretty much.
I'd love to let Jalen Hurts play that starring role on Hard Knocks because he is different than everybody else.
They should go to the Bills because I want more inside depth on what the heck Stephon Diggs is doing.
If they get the Bills week what week does Buffalo come here?
Well,
it's mid-season.
It's right after the Chiefs, I think.
Chiefs,
isn't it?
yeah.
Right. So about week 10, week
so
11. That's when I'll start worrying about the Buffalo Bills from an Eagles standpoint when they're coming here to the link. Jeff Kerr, always a pleasure. Sorry, it's not the winter, so your bowling average is lingering a little bit. But I have faith you'll get it up, even though you're going to go into some very air-conditioned bowling center near you soon.
Tonight.
I love that. You going tonight?
Yeah, I got practice for Nationals. I'm going to Reno in 2 weeks, so that's all I care about right now.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, big shot going out to Reno.
Reno 911, one of my favorite shows, underrated show. Week 12, Buffalo, November 26th. So
that'll be a big one.
Thanksgiving-ish time.
Or 25. It's the week after Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Thanksgiving week, I guess. The Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Sunday.
We know you can't go Reno 911 while bowling. Can you go Reno 811? Can you bowl 811?
Not on that shot.
Okay.
Maybe Reno 511.
511. That's not good, Kurt. You better be better than that.
That's a
Would
pro
take a
shot.
6 or a 7, if not an 8.
I'm bowling where Walter Ray Williams Jr. dominates. Just think about that.
Who the hell is Walter Ray Williams?
One of the greatest bowlers of all time. Pete Weber. Do you know who he is?
I know Pete Weber. I know Pete Weber. Ernie McCracken.
Ernie McCracken.
Of course I know Ernie McCracken.
Best bowler of all time, Ernie McCracken.
All right. Jeff Kerr, always a pleasure. Thanks, brother. We'll get you back again soon. Now, when are you going to Reno so we know we can't have you that week?
July 3rd. July 3rd I'm leaving. So that week.
Write that down. Kerr's out. Johnny
July
Mac.
3rd. I
Can't
think
be-
that's a Monday,
can't be
isn't
calling
it?
him.
It's a
July
Monday.
4th is on a Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be there all week.
And tip your waiters and waitresses. That's Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports here with us on Birds 365. All right,
Thanks,
Johnny
Jeff.
Mac, Johnny Mac coming back. We still got an hour left to go. Oh, the Prince of Darkness is joining us today. Your friend and mine, Bob Groats, coming up in hour number 2. So don't even think about streaming out.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got Jody McDonald and John McMullen. That makes us Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. Thanks, Jeff Kerr, for hopping in. Is Nick Fierro better than Kerr at bowling?
I don't know. I haven't bowled with either. Now, Nick was a former professional bowler, so I'm going to have to do, I would assume Nick is better because he was a professional, but I don't know that for a fact. Jeff's very good, but he's not a professional, I assume. But I don't know that much about bowling.
Right, nor do I, but I love talking bowling with Kerr. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weird. What team is Fierro covering again? Is it same as last year?
Nick's retired.
Did he retire? So
yeah.
he's bowling full time now. So he's definitely better than Kerr.
No,
he's putting Kerr in his rearview mirror and just waving goodbye.
He's in South Carolina. He's a big golfer as well, so he spends most of his time golfing. I don't think he's I don't think he is kept up with his professional status as a bowler. I don't think he bowls as much to be as sharp as he could be if he did it.
Did they have a
maybe we'll get Nick on the show. Maybe we'll see if he'll join the show.
Just for spits and giggles, I wouldn't mind catching up with Fierro. But again, we're gonna have we're always at tea time, if he's getting.
Yeah,
out
I know.
time.
He's always, that's what I mean. He's always golfing, and we're on in the morning. So
Right, we can't get him, but it would be worth the shot. He's a fun dude. I like Fierro. Johnny Mac, I need to ask you about this because I saw it covered in a couple of different places. Maybe it was because Jeremy Fowler said something on one of his spots on ESPN over the weekend. The Budda Baker to Philadelphia rumors are at least sparking again. Not going to say they're hot, but they're sparking again. He would prefer not to be an Arizona Cardinal. We're now in that time when no one's in camp, but the next time anybody shows up is officially going to be camp. And if you're going to take a stance and make a statement, you got to kind of wait to camp anyway. I guess you can hold out for mandatory minicamp, but camp is when you really make a statement. You think Budda Baker's showing up in Arizona come camp time?
That's a good question. He certainly doesn't want to be there. Hey, that's the new age of the NFL. He sees the writing on the wall. It's a bad team. He doesn't want to be on a bad team, and he wants a new place. So we'll see how it shakes out. But, the Eagles, it's an interesting, that's the one guy, you know me, I hashtag no. I generally say no. DeAndre Hopkins, nope. Dalvin Cook, nope. Budda Baker, I went, maybe. For a lot of reasons, age, versatile, just really good player. And they have a need at that position. And he would fill that need day one. It was interesting when they drafted Sidney Brown. That was the name that was brought up to me. A lot of Budda Baker-like traits. But I mean, that's for down the road. Nobody's expecting him to be Budda Baker in year one, and he didn't get off the third team in the spring, so it's going to take a while. It's a Super Bowl team. Seize the moment. He is the one player where if I could seize the moment, if I were Howard Roseman, I would seize the moment. I would go get him.
And like you, I'm a Budda Baker fan. I don't even know if I'd call it a need, but certainly a position that can be upgraded is safety. And bringing in Budda Baker is upgrading the safety position. Nobody would argue that. He's one of the best safeties in the National Football League. The whole thing to me comes down to cap. That if Howie Roseman, who's very good at restructuring contact, who is main henchman on the cap, Jake Rosenberg and
Jake Rosenberg and Bryce Johnston are
I don't know Bryce. Between the three of them, they do a great job of managing the Eagles' cap. They're in good cap shape right now, not outrageous. They've got the biggest dead cap money hit in the National Football League, and to be 11, 12 million under the cap going into the season means they've already done a lot of restructuring of contracts. They did it when they got the Jalen thing done. They redid Lane. And I don't know that they have the usual amount of flexibility. You can always manufacture some by redoing contracts to clear cap room in a given year. They'd have to, I would think they'd have to extend Baker right away, right? If you're going to go out and get him.
Yeah, I would think they would do their old trick of put extra years on the back end to spread out I'm trying to pull up his contract. 13 this year, 14.2 in 2024. I would think they would want to, do the old voidable years trick, and try to get him extended. They have plenty of room. I mean, they could do it without it, but that's just the way they sort of do business. And they certainly would. Yeah, I mean, if he wants to play and he wants to be on the Super Bowl contender and Arizona's willing to talk, that's a player I would seriously consider.
Agreed, but when you say wants to play in a Super Bowl contender, it almost sounds like you're saying, "Oh, he'll take less." I don't believe that for a millisecond. Do you?
No,
where
no,
he's
that's
at
not
in
what
his
I meant.
career, he's not coming here and
That's
I'll
not what
take
I
a
meant.
haircut just to be with the Eagles.
No, that's kind of the conversation with a Cook or a Hopkins. They would have to take a serious haircut.
Right.
In this particular, he's already under contract. He's not, and he's already under contract for a significant money. There's no, Arizona's not cutting him. So there's no, you got to finagle around it. And the only way you can is put years on the back end. So he's under contract through 2024. You probably give him an extra year and you add 2 voidable years, get it through 2027, and you could bring that cap number, the immediate cap number down. That would be typically how the Eagles would do it. He's just a better player. With all due respect, look, I'm higher on the Eagles safety spot than linebacker. I have some optimism with Reed Blankenship. I think Terrell Edmonds is a fine, competent player. I don't think he's splashy, but I think he's fine. I think Sidney Brown's got a lot of upside. So I feel more comfortable at safety than I do at linebacker, where they only have one linebacker, and even that's a projection. But this is a Pro Bowl, all pro level player. This is a big upgrade. And for that reason, and it's a big upgrade in the prime of his career. He's 27 years old. He's not on the down, like DeAndre Hopkins, as good as he's been, it's on the downside.
Correct.
Dalvin Cook, as good as he's been at that position, he's on the downside because he's touched it so much. It's just the history of that position. Not in Budda Baker's case. You would expect to get at least 3 years of high level play out of him before you even start thinking about the downside.
I agree basically with everything you just said there, except I don't know that Dalvin Cook has dropped all that much. He's going to drop. I would not project him to have this unbelievable turnaround year. He had, I got it in front of me, year 3, 1,100 yards, 1,500, 1,159, 1,173. He went for basically the same thing 2 years in a row. That's not a big drop off. So he's going to drop off. If you were going to a multi-year contract, you got to believe at some point he's going to go backwards. Hopkins has already dropped off. Dalvin Cook hasn't dropped off yet, but he's a non-factor, non-starter with us for the Eagles because I just don't see them making that kind of a play. Here's where you and I might diverge a little bit on the linebacker versus safety, which is the biggest need for the Eagles, if you want to call it a need. Yeah, I'm very much in the linebacker column because I don't trust Nicholas Morrow. I trust Reed Blankenship more than I do Nicholas Morrow. I trust Evans more than I trust Morrow. I just don't have a good feeling about Nicholas Morrow. That's why I'm going to start let's find out if Patrick Queen actually hits the open market, Johnny Mac. Because the one thing that Budda Baker's had more of a career than Patrick Queen for sure. But Budda Baker's getting paid, and Budda Baker's got money this year and next year. Patrick Queen is on the last year of a rookie deal that even if you don't touch his contract and you just take him on tomorrow and still have lots of cap money to be flexible going into the year, I've not gotten off that train. Eagles need an upgrade at linebacker, and if he's out there and gettable, I think Patrick Queen is the perfect fit for this team.
Well, I mean, he might be a fit from a football standpoint. He wants to get paid. So, and we know now the Eagles aren't paying linebackers. Like I said, even with Nakobe Dean, enjoy him while you can. I hope he turns into a tremendous player. But if he does turn into a tremendous player, he's probably not getting a second contract here just because they don't value the position. So if you acquire Patrick Queen, I know you like. I wouldn't start thinking day 3. Yeah, I'll start thinking about it. You've been saying day 2.
Yeah, I think he's going to merit a third round.
You're
pick.
giving up a day 2 pick for 1 year because this is a rent a player because you're not paying him. Because if he plays well, 2 things can happen, right? If he plays well, he's going to want. I'm not going to say Devin White money when they start talking, but he's going to want $10 million plus a year, especially if he has a good year at that position for the Philadelphia Eagles. Ain't happening. And if he has a bad year, you don't want him, and he gave up a day 2 pick. So from that standpoint, I don't think it makes sense. I don't like the way the Eagles, I think the Eagles have taken it too far at linebacker as far as their devaluation of the position. I do think they've taken it too far, but I try to deal in the reality of the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're either, if he plays well and they acquire him, they're not going to pay him. And if he plays poorly, it doesn't work. So unless you knock it down to day 3 pick, then I'll start talking about it. I don't care as much about that day 3 pick.
Now, when you say that's where I'll start talking about it, are you talking about it from a John McMullen evaluation or
no,
a
from an Eagles
Eagles
perspective?
Evaluation?
From an Eagles.
Well, then you shouldn't say I. You should say the Eagles may.
Well, that's fine, but again, that's semantics. You know what I mean. So
no, I don't. That's why I answered, John. If I knew what you mean, I wouldn't have asked you.
Well,
because when you say I think you mean you. But then when I question you from time to time, you go, yeah, but no, this is what the Eagles think. When I say I mean
so
I mean Jody McDonald. I don't speak for the Philadelphia Eagles and or give answers through the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well,
in the way
you
they
asked me the question.
You
asked me the questions about the Philadelphia Eagles acquiring a particular player. Now, if I toggle back and forth between I apologize. And the way the Eagles, I said it throughout my explanation, how the Eagles value the position. They don't value the position. Is Patrick Queen going to be the 6th best off-ball linebacker in football next year? Probably not. The Eagles just had the 6th best off-ball linebacker in football, wouldn't pay him $6.5 million. They're certainly not going to pay a guy who's been a first-round pick and thinks he deserves more than that. So it's a rent-a-player, and if it's a rent-a-player, first of all, you got to go through the hurdles of, is he going to be happy being a renter player because he won an extension to begin with? And then even if you get over that hump and say, well, hey, you got a chance to win a Super Bowl. You got a chance to hit the open market. Basically, there's 32 teams. The vast majority of them have certainly devalued the position as a whole, but not to the point the Eagles have. So somebody will be willing, as it happened with TJ Edwards, somebody will be willing to pay something for a player, especially coming off a good season. The Eagles aren't going to do that at the linebacker position. That to me is a different conversation. Should they value the position more? Yeah, probably. I don't feel comfortable going into season with Nakobe Dean and Nicholas Morrow. More comfortable with Nakobe Dean, but what if Nakobe Dean sprains his ankle?
Right.
Then where are you?
You're screwed.
Then where are you? Then Nicholas Morrow is your top linebacker, and then you start talking, was it going to be Davion Taylor? Is it going to be Sean Bradley? Is it going to be Christian Ellis would obviously be the first one. We're now down to that in Philadelphia. We talk about this is the deepest, most well-rounded team. I say that. Pro Football Focus says that. Peter King says that. But where I differ from PFF and Peter King is, they got weaknesses, and that's the biggest one.
Right.
Because we're talking up Christian Ellis. Why are we talking up Christian Ellis? Well, he did play well in the 100 minutes we got to see. But I mean, they have nothing else. So we're looking for something.
Right.
If you go to every other NFL city and say, Christian Ellis might play, they're not going to be head over heels at linebacker. The Eagles have taken this too far. But the way they do business, Patrick Queen, unless it's day 3, I don't think it makes sense. And then I haven't even gotten to the point. Baltimore's probably not going to trade him because they're going to let him play out. And they think they're a Super Bowl contender. And they're probably not. They're probably unrealistic because the AFC is much deeper. But they think they're going to be in the playoffs. Now, I think they could be a playoff team. And who knows from there. And why not get the year out of him and, hey, get the comp pick yourself if you sign somewhere else.
But as you questioned earlier, you got to see if he'd be okay being a rental player. Well, he's a rental player with Baltimore right now. So Baltimore, if they don't trade him, is banking on him being okay with being a rental player. I give you a rental player, DJ Edwards. He couldn't get a contract out of the Eagles. He knew he was singing for his supper last year, and he did pretty damn well at it. As you said, what was he, 6th, 8th best off-ball linebacker in football? That was okay. Yeah, if you tell me I can get TJ Edwards' year out of Patrick Queen, to me that's worth a 3rd-round pick. Because remember, if you do let him walk, you're going to get a compensatory pick coming back on the other end. So it's a 3rd-round pick minus whatever you get back in a compensatory pick if he walks away from the team at the end of the year.
Well, compensatory picks, remember, about that assumes you're not going to sign anybody. The Eagles' strategy this year was they were not going to sign anybody. Maybe next year it's not. Maybe they're looking to add somebody because they're a better cap space.
And I'm asking this of John McMullen. We got our buddy Bob Groats coming up here in a second. What position other than linebacker, which we know they devalue, are the Eagles going to be uber aggressive going out and signing a free agent at next year?
Oh, they're not going to be uber aggressive at linebacker. They're going to.
I'm saying other than it won't be linebacker. If they're letting if he comes in and plays well, Queen plays well, whether you want to re-sign him, and if he gets too expensive, they're going to let him go because we don't put that kind of valuation. So you're going to get a compensatory pick. You're saying, well, you might not because that's balanced against other signings. I'm asking you what you think the Eagles will put as a position that they have to upgrade via free agent signings heading into 2025.
It depends what happens. I mean, it could be cornerback. They're aging at cornerback. Who knows? I mean, maybe they move on from Slay. That's a valued position. You know, they tried to sign Marcus Williams years ago. That all depends on what happens. But they will be active if they have the space and they see a player they want. And all of a sudden, if you sign a player at any position, say at $10 million a year, and Patrick Queen gets $8-9 million a year, well, they ace each other out. So it's not. I think a lot of fans assume, oh, we'll just get it's automatic. It's not automatic. It's a formula that has to deal. First, you have to lose more players than you sign. And the Eagles, that was part of their strategy this year. It's not necessarily going to be part of their strategy next year is all I'm saying.
And I'm saying if I could identify a position where you know they're going to need to upgrade as per next year and they're going to have to be aggressive, I don't see that on its team. So I will suggest that and this is projecting and they got to play a whole season. You got to evaluate that all. I get it. It's an incomplete picture. My picture is, they're going to end up getting compensatory picks next year because they're not going to be big-time players in free agency. All right, McDonald and McMullen, Mac, Birds 365. Oh, we got the man, the myth, the legend. Bob Groats joins us next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama go up,
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mac here on Birds 365. Look who joins us. He's out and about on the roads again. The traveling wonder that is Bob Groats.
What do you got there, Bob? Are
I
you
got
doing
time to put-
product placements?
Yeah, I got time to put some deodorant on, don't I, guys?
Now, no, you did during the 3 minutes we were in commercial when we already had you punched up. So put the
By the way,
deodorant-
that looks like expensive stuff, Bob. That looks like
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like high. That doesn't look like dollar store.
Let me
stuff.
say
I'm
though,
impressed.
it works.
All right, well, that's,
Okay.
that's
No,
all that
it's definitely
matters.
not.
I'll have to ask John. Does it work
Dollar
for Groats?
store.
Does it, when you got to sit next to him in the booth, do you notice?
Yeah, I've never noticed any issues with Bob
Okay,
Groats.
that's-
He's top tier.
Dollar store will crater your armpits, guys.
Yeah,
Ooh,
you don't
yeah,
want
I'm
to do that. You don't
Not
wanna-
not the dollar store, but the real cheap ones, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
You want to get the good stuff. That's why I thought that looked like high end department store stuff.
Yeah, actually,
That's
it was
one
David-
thing.
Yeah.
One thing I'm with, and I can't believe we're discussing this. I've been a Brute spray guy.
Brute spray.
Brute
All right.
spray since I've been 16 years old.
I didn't know
have
they
been
made that
loyal
anymore.
to my deodorant for 40 friggin' years.
Wow.
And I've never changed.
I go
Brute
back and
spray.
forth. I'm more of a Old Spice / Degree guy.
No, I've
just-
been
just
Brute
every-
since I've been 16.
I bought into the Degree hype. It says it works for 48 hours. I don't think that's the case, but I bought
48
into the hype.
hours, yeah.
Yeah.
You know who
And,
needs that?
Yeah,
Nick
product
Sirianni needs
placement
it.
guy.
Nick
What was it
Sirianni?
you had? Now that we're giving all these people free advertising, reach
Yeah,
into your back.
that's
seat.
true.
What did
Yeah.
you have, Groat? What was yours? We didn't see it
What-
close enough. You got to hold it up.
Oh,
Get back there into the back seat.
I think it was
Yeah.
Brute.
He's
It's
finding
Brute
money.
spray.
What is that?
Yeah, that
David
I'm
Off.
telling. Yeah,
Who
that's
what?
high end stuff.
Yeah.
That's high end stuff.
I never
David
go
Off?
nowhere
Did he
without my
say?
David off.
Yeah.
Wow.
What are you getting? Russian deodorant? What are you
There
on the
you
black
go.
market?
No, no, it's Swiss. Swiss.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought you were on the
one
black
thing,
market.
the one thing Bob Groats is not neutral like Swiss.
No, I
never-
thought I was going to have to report you to Homeland Security. I thought,
No.
you're getting this stuff.
I'm
in
already under
untoward ways.
surveillance with them. Jeez.
All right. I saw an article you did in the Delco Times about gambling and sports betting in the NFL, and Nick Sirianni making a speech to the guys before they all scattered for the wind for the summer.
Don't be in the headlines.
Exactly. And sports wagering is just one of the ways you can get into the headline if you do it incorrectly or you do it in the wrong spot. Nick's pretty good at this stuff. He's very good at knowing how to work with guys, but not be a taskmaster, to kind of be a buddy, but when need be, listen, I'm the coach. This for you, and you have a better grasp on it than I do because you're down there talking to him. Does he handle this stuff well? the balancing act of being the disciplinarian as a coach, but also being the guy who the players like and want to say, yeah, I should listen to my bud Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, he's a good communicator. He gets that message out there, and I know sometimes we laugh about this the repetition with communicating, but he does a very good job of that. And I got to say this, all right. So he no sooner does he make that speech about the directive, and I'm telling you, the NFL too, they can't do anything simple. I mean. Listen to the Eagles talk about it. They were all over the place. I don't even know what the heck the rule is, like where
nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So he did the best he could with that. So I'm driving on the turnpike, heading towards State College. And what do I see on the billboard coming? June 23rd, Jordan Davis at some casino out there. And I almost wet myself. It was so funny. I'm thinking, my God, I wish I knew this before I wrote that story. So, but that doesn't mean it's illegal. I just don't know. The directive is ridiculous. It's just,
it's amazing how hypocritical the NFL has become. You remember a couple of years ago, Tony Romo, they shut Tony Romo down from, he was going to do a fantasy football convention. And they said, you can't do that. Fantasy football is gambling, blah, blah, blah. And now they want all the money to generate, but then the players, I mean, you're screwing guys. Detroit already, and that's an up and coming team.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley.
I think
Calvin Ridley would have been here, by the way, if he didn't get suspended last year. I don't know. I feel sorry for the players here because it's not. Look. You can't bet in team facilities. But you can bet outside the building, but you can't bet on NFL games. You can't bet in team hotels on the road. This stuff seems very goofy to me, Bob.
Hey, I'm old school. I remember walking in those locker rooms and seeing the big ass sign on the wall. Do not associate, no gambling. Do not associate with gambling. And, after looking at that, you looked over your shoulder to see if anyone saw you reading it, because I'm telling you, they were strict as could be. But now, and by the way, that fantasy football, that Tony Romo, that thing he wanted to do, now they're making tons of money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, So they've come full circle. I mean, it just, and I don't, I think it puts the players in a difficult position because, I mean, they're competitive to begin with. They're always saying my team is going to beat this team or that or the other thing, and now some of these teams have gambling facilities, not so much in the NFL.
In their stadium,
exactly.
No, they're putting them.
They're right there. I met at Chickies and Pete's the other night. Well, not the other night, but a few months ago. The one out in Malvern, you can lay down I could lay down a bet if I wanted to during the break. But obviously
absolutely.
You don't do that.
I hold the players a little bit more responsible, sounds like, than you two guys, because I don't think it's not that inundated as far as what you can and can't do. It seems pretty cut and dry to me. The only one I got a problem with is the fantasy stuff, because you're allowed to bet NFL fantasy, but only to a certain point. Like, you can't get into $1 million fantasy football league. But if you're just in a couple of $100 fantasy football league just for fun, but you got money on it, that you're allowed to do. Now, that I agree. That's stupid. That's completely unbelievably hypocritical. Either you can bet on football or you can't bet on football. That's where I would make that one hard and fast and include fantasy in it as well. But you can't bet in the facility. How stupid do you have to be? Just leave the facility, go out to your car. You got to have action. You got to put in a bed. Go out to your car. Get the hell out of the building. How hard is that for the player? The players can't comprehend that or understand that, Bob?
They're very young people, Jody. I mean, that you have to add.
They
into
all went
that
to
as
college for 3 years.
Yeah. You know where they get their information?
3 years figure out you can't bet in a building. Get out if you want to go bet. That's too much to ask.
You know where the guy who just left college gets his information? From the guy who just got into the NFL. That's the way it works. Yeah. And I don't think these guys are like going to libraries or I don't think they subscribe to newspaper news subscription services. I don't think they just listen to each other. They talk to each other. They get enough stuff to do. So, and I don't. By the way, I never liked the gambling thing, and you can't tell me that these are the only cases either. I don't
no. Well, that's the other part of it.
Here. I mean,
this to me, my problem is, I get what you're saying, Jody. You should be able to do it. You should be able to say, all right, just don't do it here. Don't bet on the NFL. That should be it. Go bet on baseball, basketball, whatever you want to bet on. Or you're Jason Peters, don't bet on anything. But anyway, it seems like Jerry Jones scribbled this on the back of a cocktail napkin, 8 gin and tonics in. That's my problem. It's all over the place. It's haphazard. And if you really want to educate young people, say, hey, moron, you can't do this. At least give them a warning and say, I'm not going to take away a freaking half year or 6 games or a full year of a career, a very short career. Then if they do it again, all right, then I'm with you. But that first time, there's got to be a warning. There's got to be, all right, hey, dummy, you can't do this. Then after that, all right, all fair game. That's how I would handle it. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I like your. I mean, if you're going to have,
I'm holding the players to a higher standard, and I might be wrong to do so, but I'm giving them more credit than that they're braided, that they all got them. They all were educated. They all had to listen to the coach talk. A compliance guy came in and explained it to them, and they still did it. I'm sorry, you start at strike 2. You tell them ahead of time, this is strike 2. And if you make a mistake, it's going to be strike 3. You're going to pay a price. I don't think that's being overly harsh to the players. Sorry. I hold them to a higher standard.
Well, the only reason I think it's different, the only reason I think it's different is because these things are so inundated in society now. And we grew up in a different time when these things didn't exist. It's their whole freaking lives. And you touch one button and you bet $2. And technically, say if you're an Eagle and you bet $2 on the Commanders to beat the Cowboys, oh, you're done for the year. I have a problem with that. But maybe it's me. Maybe I'm getting too liberal in my old age.
And maybe I'm tipping my hand here. It's not one button. It's several buttons. Nobody puts it. There's no butt dialing a bet for the Commanders at $2 in on the play. No, you have to actually try and do it. You have to commit to betting that money, and shame on them if they do.
I mean,
that's an insult. I'm a champion butt dialer. And I could do it.
I've been butt dialed by Bob Groats.
I rewrote the book on butt dialing, so but you could apologize some other time. Yeah,
it's too easy. That's my point, Jody. Though, yeah, all right, you have to hit a couple buttons, but you put out your phone, you get the app out, you say, all right. Again, we're talking about 22, 23-year-olds. There's veteran players as well. But we're talking about a lot of young players, to use Jameson Williams, second-year player, whatever he is, 22 years old.
That's a huge loss, yeah. Right.
You have it in your pocket, you have it in your phone. It's inundated with your whole life since you've grown up in this era, and it's second nature to you. I just think I think it's unfair. I really do. And many times I've been hardcore when they used to suspend people for marijuana. It used to drive me crazy when fans would say, the NFL doesn't care about domestic violence or insert some other horrible thing, but they care about weed smoking. I thought that's so stupid because it's collectively bargained. You got to fail like 4 tests before you even get to the first suspension. And like nobody knew that. So I was like hard line on that when it was like, these guys are idiots. They failed a bunch of different tests. They deserve it. I have no problem with that. But this stuff, I got a problem with. I really do. I think it's completely unfair to the players. but that's me.
No, apparently, you and I have different standards. All right, John, Bob Groats. When the Eagles get camp underway, we know they'll be doing minimal activities because they did minimal activities last year and they went to the Super Bowl and were tied with 10 seconds to go. Even less this year because it was successful. There's no way to deem it anything other but then successful. Are you guys going to mandatory time that you're going to get to watch practice? Is it going to be even less? Will the Eagles actually be doing more classroom stuff and less on-field activities because they had the success they had last year?
Well, they had a longer season because of the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised if the sports science people, backed them off just a little bit. But they have to take a look at guys, too. They got to figure out who's going to play where on that offensive line. And that's the biggest question to me on the whole team is who's going to be the right guard. I still, for the life of me, I don't think they have the answer right now. That's going to be an issue, I believe. And but yeah, I could see them doing just a little bit less. And because of what I said, because of the Super Bowl,
that's fair.
The OTAs, right? They spent a lot of time out there, and they take all those pills too. What are those pills that measure your body heat and all this other stuff? God knows what they do, what these guys are taking, but it's all sports science. So they know exactly how many snaps they can give them. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened a little bit. We've had a pretty mild summer. I guess, are we in summer yet?
No, tomorrow's the official beginning.
It's been pretty
summer.
mild. So, you might see, they're going to have to find out some things. And Nick Sirianni will. I mean, in those 11-on-11s, I think those will be pretty much the same. Maybe the practices, maybe they're a little bit shorter. Younger guys going more, but they've been really smart about it, and they've been fortunate with the injuries, or maybe that cause and effect thing. They just earned that, like from their diligence and their sports science. But like I was saying, I still, you guys were talking about 1 year players and stuff. I'm still wondering if there's like a guard out there that might be able to fit in there real quick. Maybe not.
You think they're going to make a move for another body, huh?
No.
No,
Jeff Stoutland, we trust, Bob. Come on.
Yeah,
they
if
trust.
someone's going to get cut, yeah. Well, I could see him bring someone along, but do you really
There's
want
to Dalton Risner? How do you pronounce his name? He's still out there. But why is he still out there?
We mentioned his name, Jason Peters.
Jason.
I don't see that happening. Yeah,
But here's my thing, though.
I don't like the idea. I don't like their alleged solution right now.
Which one is more to you? Force feeding Steen or moving Beef Jerky over to right guard? Which are you referring to?
I don't like either of those right now.
Okay,
no.
You're 0 for 2, huh?
Yeah, I don't think either. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Juergens, but I don't think he's the right guy to play on the right side of Jason Kelce there.
Here's my only point with that. Even if Juergens can't do it and Steen can't do it, you can still go to Jack Driscoll. Whereas,
yeah, but he won't stay healthy though.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
You'll get a few games out of him, and so I hate to see that. The A gaps too. If you're going to get after Jalen Hurts and disrupt things, that's where you get them, right in the A gaps.
Yeah, you got to sugar the A gaps, Bob.
Ciamalo was really, really good. I mean, underrated. I'm still a little bit surprised that they didn't decide to do something, but they're paying Kelce a lot. They've invested in him, so they did what they had to do. And
now you said that's your biggest concern. That's a bigger concern than linebacker or safety.
Oh
right
yeah,
guard? Really?
That
Wow.
offense is going to be scoring points. That's how they win games, and you got to protect the quarterback. You just extended them. You want to get these next 3-4. These are the years that you have your fingers crossed that he wins a Super Bowl. He's getting all that money. And I heard Jody talking about free agents before, and do they make them a priority in the coming what guys maybe the year after? What's going to be their plan in free agency? I see their plan in free agency as just re-signing guys that they like and drafting. I think
that's not re-signing guys are not free agents.
Yeah, right. And developing their own guys. I think that's what you're looking at for next season. Maybe, and
Well, that's
depending
always
how
the
that
hope.
goes.
I mean, always the hope is you draft good players and you develop them and they turn into to really good players, but that's usually not the reality. You're going to miss on some guys.
We'll see about some of these Georgia guys this year, won't we? I mean,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
see
They're-
this year.
I
And,
think they're banking on all the Georgia guys being hits.
Yeah.
They're going to get a chance to play.
But,
And you know what? I
we
said
don't
they're
talk
pretty-
about that enough, but I brought that up last week. Georgia had 5 first-round picks on defense last year. None of them hit the ground running. None of them. You could argue Trayvon Walker was a good player. He's the number 1 overall pick, but he's the number 1 overall pick. The rest of them, as people know, I'm not going to call Jordan Davis a bust. Some people have. I thought he was playing well before he got hurt. I think he's going to be a good player. Devontae Wyatt, who is he? Quay Walker, Lewis Seen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no guarantees for anybody.
Yeah, definitely not. And that'll be fun to see. And by the way, I said what I was saying. Probably the number one weakness or the thing I want to see them take care of is that right guard position. That's a priority to me. I for the life of me, I still am trying to wrap my arms around this whole defensive coordinator thing with Sean Desai, and having a guy looking over his shoulder who actually called the defensive plays, and worked at New England with Bill Belichick. I don't know how that's gonna,
Yeah, I brought that up yesterday. And we had Zach on. We had Zach Berman on, Bob. And Zach kind of dismissed it. I look at it on both sides. Marcus Brady is sitting there for Brian Johnson. Marcus Brady's been an offensive coordinator. He's got experience. I don't know. That seems strange to me, the way they set up the coaching staff. I'm with you there. They have an extra layer of coaching staff that they didn't have last year. Why? Why is Marcus Brady there? Why is Matt Patricia there? That we have to get that question answered in training camp. Bob.
Yeah, well, I don't have any issue at all with Brian Johnson. In fact, I think I see the offense taking a step forward with him.
All I'm saying is they have a safety net, just like they have a safety net on defense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right now it's more gut feeling with me, but I think those two are going to have just an unbelievable synergy. I think they think similarly. They both played quarterback, but I think you're going to see even more power, more explosiveness in this offense this year. I think they're going to what wraps were on Jalen Hurts last year are going to be. They're just going to take the wraps right off of him and what you're going to see is one of the most exciting Eagles offenses ever. I see Hurts and Brian Johnson really teeing it up this year. The defense, I'm still, I'm telling you, I know maybe Zach doesn't see, a problem with Patricia, like looking over the shoulder of Desai, but I see this turn into Patricia's defense maybe the first or the second month of the season. I swear to God. I think, yeah.
Whoa.
This is a time bomb.
All right. Well, time out, Philadelphia. Yeah. First things first. If you're out there and you got your phone and you got your sports betting app, if you're not an Eagle player, not in a facility with an Eagle, you can't do it. But anybody else who's not a Philadelphia Eagle player, feel free to bet Jalen Hurts for MVP because Groats just told you the offense is going to be better this year. He was runner-up last year, and if he's going to get better, well, he's got to win the MVP. So go ahead and bet Jalen Hurts to win the MVP. Bob
Am I allowed to double down, or is that against the rules on this show?
You can do whatever the hell you want. Okay. You're in your car.
I'm doubling down on that.
Problems. You can do any wagering you want, Groats. All right, here's the question I have for you. 2-part question. Budda Baker could be available out on the open market. What do you think the Philadelphia Eagles, how high a draft pick would they give up for Budda Baker? How high a draft pick would Bob Groats give up for Budda Baker?
Oh, I would not give up I'd probably give up a third-day pick if I gave up anything at all, and I'd want him on a real. I guess you couldn't. You'd have to pick up the rest of his contract, right?
13 this year, 14 next year.
Yeah. No, I don't. You know what? I don't want him. I don't want him. I mean, he's got talent. He's smart, but they'll be able to find somebody to help him that for at a more cost-efficient thing. And I really don't think he's the type of playmaker that some other people think. I don't think he's like your Arizona's had some great like Honey Bear, Tyrann Mathieu. He's not that guy. For a Tyrann Mathieu, I would do that. I would make a deal for him, but not for this guy.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not as big a Budda Baker
not in
fan
the same
as me
class.
and John. John and I both like the player a lot.
Yeah, not in the same class though. I mean, you're going to be able to. I think you're going to be okay without him, and that defensive line. If Jalen Carter, stays on the field and does what he can do, that'll be interesting too.
At Bob Groats, make sure you follow Bob on Twitter. Does a tremendous job. The dean of the Eagles beat writers, as I like to call them, Delco Times. Read them there, delcotimes.com. I'll leave it here with you, Bob. And you said Sean Desai, some issues. Howie Roseman's getting his flowers this offseason, deservedly so. I think he's a top 5 GM. But boy, listening to you saying, and I say it all the time, at least 95% of the time, when a big name player becomes available, DeAndre Hopkins, I say no. Dalvin Cook, no. Hashtag no, I've said. No. Do we give Howie too much credit at times? Because we're counting on Nicholas Morrow, Reed Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds, and saying, they'll be fine. I don't know if they're going to be fine on the back end of that defense.
I think Terrell Edmonds he's going to be a special teams guy. The Steelers.
Well, who the hell's going to start?
The Steelers would have done something with him. They'll figure something out. I don't think he's a starter. I know he's got some of that on his resume. Yeah, he's not. No. So
Sidney Brown.
Maybe Keeley. Maybe Keeley will end up in a hybrid type of role. Maybe Avante Maddox will stay healthier.
I'll remember.
Don't be moving Maddox around. Maddox is one of the best slot corners in the National Football League. Leave him. If he stays on the field, leave him on the field. Leave him at slot. Don't be moving him to safety.
I will agree. I'll agree with you though. The back end of that defense, they got to do some stuff there. That's why I don't know. I mean, to me, you got a new defensive coordinator, and we all know that the Eagles didn't get any stops in the second half of that Super Bowl, and that's gonna be something that they got to prove that they can do, like stop somebody like every game. If that defense is porous again, you're going to see a lot of a knee-jerk reaction from.
You can tell it's the offseason, with Calais Ringo. I mean, yeah, he's the long-term heir apparent for Slay or Bradbury. He's an out, and people are moving him to safety. I mean,
I don't think
20-year-old kid. I mean, you can tell it's the offseason.
Look at his highlights. I mean, he kind of is. He's playing center field or left field or right field. I mean, I don't see him turning his hips and going solo with some of these real.
Lewis Seen
he's a big guy.
Played safety at Georgia. Was an All-American safety at Georgia, and couldn't play a lick as a rookie before he got hurt. Just people pump the brakes on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm with Johnny Mac on that one. All right, Johnny Mac calls Bob Groats the dean. I call him the Prince of Darkness. I think we're both going to have to go to the Prince of Deodorant going forward.
Yeah,
There's a possibility. Yeah. Be tuned for Bob Groats when he shows up. He's always entertaining. We thank him for doing so. We'll get you up in a couple of weeks, buddy.
See you, Bob.
That is Bob Groats here.
It's on the black market getting that deodorant too, man. That's high class stuff.
Yeah, I can guarantee you I've never spent that on deodorant. Whatever he paid for that, I have never. I really am. I'm as boring as they come. Brute spray for 40 friggin' years. Since I was in high school. I started using Brute aerosol spray when I was in high school. Still do it today. All right, that's way too much deodorant talk. We'll come back. I don't think the show is stunk, but just in case, if we got to put some deodorant, we will as we put a bow on the show.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Clock ticking on us here on Bird 365. Mac and Mac will be right back again tomorrow. We should get Mike Gill on tomorrow, right? He's our Wednesday guy, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I got to double down.
Doing the
confirm
vacation
but,
thing. You gotta.
Yeah.
Is there a 9:00 baseball game he's got to coach? Since he is the.
It's always possible.
Yeah,
By the way, I know it's too much deodorant talk, but our crack producer Zander Krause, $16 a stick. He
For the one that Groats has.
Yes, I told
Holy
you.
mackerel.
I told you that was high level. I could tell by the packaging. That's what you're paying for, by the way. The packaging.
No kidding. Yeah. They make it look real good, and then you don't feel as bad overpaying as you do. What was the one other question? Oh, will we have player number 24 tomorrow from the Kratz McMullen combination on SI?
Yeah. Each
one a day, every day for the next 25 days.
Correct. So 24 will be out tomorrow.
Now, do you know who number 24 is? Have they informed you ahead of time? Have you compared notes?
Yeah, I
with
did. I assembled the voting, so I know the whole list.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to tell us till tomorrow. You're going to make us wait for it to come out on SI.
Got to do it. That's
all right. Good job out of you. Good job out of you all show long. I say we do this again tomorrow. You in, McMullen?
Yeah, let's do it.
Some 22 hours from now, we'll be back on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.